Have you been looking for a way to stay focused on your goals and grow your MSP? Accountability groups from RocketMSP can help. We offer weekly accountability sessions that meet online with a group of your peers. Your success begins with accountability. Go to www.rocketmsp.io to join your accountability group today.
I know you're probably really confused because you're not seeing me right now. So I'm Steve. Welcome to another installment of MSP webinars. I am home today. We had a snow day. So I guess full disclosure, if you hear screaming in the background at any point, or maybe in the foreground, it's because my kids are home. So that's going to be exciting. But we are still gonna we're still gonna make it happen. You know, the show must go on, right? So we're gonna talk about back office management, and that's what I'm calling it. But I mean, maybe you have a better name for it. We're gonna talk about managing employees, hiring, firing, motivating, all that type of stuff. We'll also kind of talk about some other things when it comes to just kind of managing the company. Because that's what a lot of us forget to do is we forget to work on the company instead of for the company. One of our panelists today is Ian, and Ian is the one that's on camera right now, and we will have Shiva join us shortly, and then we also I'm going to invite Errol to join us. So I'm gonna bring him in right now. And if anyone else would like to speak on this topic, I mean, don't be shy. I'm happy to grant you microphone permission. You don't have to come on cam if you don't want to. So I'm just kind of dive right in. Ian, you have your own company, and you have had to enjoy all of the things when it comes to managing people, the hirings, the firings, the write-ups, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, had to do a little bit of everything, both in my current life as running my own MSP and in my past life directing an IT department and having people. I'm going to kind of a little bit blur some of the areas between that because a lot of the principles are the same, the lessons learned are the same. It boils down to it's about the fit and the people and how you deal with them. So done that whole end of the spectrum all over the place, had great interviews, had horrible interviews, had horrible firings, had, I want to say great firings. I don't know if that's quite the right term, but, and I've lived and learned the managing the company of, yeah, don't forget to focus inward proportionately as well as focusing outward, because if you don't, you can get yourself into quite a bit of a backlog and
how
mess.
many employees at the most, how many employees have you managed?
At the most, I'm gonna say, okay. I think it was 8 that we got up to. So, and they were, and with the variable, not all of them were in the same city. So we had management at a distance, which was always interesting.
You know, the guys that are, I wish you could see me doing the air quotes, working from home, like me.
Here you go.
So that's awesome, man. So I'm going to have a ton of questions for you. Guys, don't be shy. You can hop in the chat and you can ask some questions as well. Up next, I will introduce Shiva, who literally just popped in. Shiva has a company. Now, Ian, I'm sorry, you're in Canada.
Yeah, so if I do say anything about the law or the rules of that, keep that in mind, that it may not be applicable, or you may have to do some exchange rate translation on it.
You're over in like British Columbia somewhere near Vancouver.
Pretty much, yeah. Near the Olympics we had a few years ago.
So next we're going to talk with Shiva, Now, Shiva also has, I want to say you've got 6 employees. Oh, my.
7 employees,
And
including an
Shiva
admin.
is on the East Coast of the United States. He's over in New Jersey. So we're going to get both coasts out of this, and we're going to get two different countries. So that's exciting. Shiva, how long have you been running your company and managing employees?
17 years in total. Break fix exclusively up until June, July of this year. In June or July, I started looking into the MSP world, and I split my break fix off to a new company that I retained partial ownership in. So yeah, 17 years I've been managing
Very
people,
cool.
or trying to at least.
All right, so I'm going to try something here. Did this affect my microphone? Am I like... Okay.
Much better.
I used
Much
that
better.
microphone boost. I never know how that works. And then finally we have Errol. Errol, you're not in Illinois, are you? Okay, you are in Chicago.
Chicagoland, suburbs.
So now we have a Midwestern guy. Now Errol, actually, you have 2 employees, so you're going to be on the smaller spectrum, which is fine. You want to tell us a little bit more about your experience with management and things like that?
Yeah, I was my MSP. Well, I was break fix until about a year ago. 6 years, and this is my 6th year. And my employee experience was pretty good. I hired one guy who didn't work out, and then from that I learned from my mistakes to specifically find someone who's not necessarily tech knowledge. Well, of course he's got to have tech knowledge, but he also needs to specifically deal with many industries of businesses, decision makers, and administrators. And if he was good at that, he could go on site and do his job. And when I found that person, it relieved me to keep growing the company. So I think it was a great idea for me to find a full-time salary person right away. So that means they can work late or come in early. I don't have to deal with the hourly and the contractual. And so now that he's working out and I'm growing the company more, the next maybe 1 or 2 employees will be the contract techs. So that was my experience.
Do not have
it's been working out
employees.
pretty well.
And I have never had employees. I've had my company for over 8 years now, so I just like being small and nimble. All right, so I'm just going to ask random questions, and whoever wants to kind of dive in and answer, feel free. And then if any of you have questions for each other, take it away. So I guess the first thing is, let's say I'm ready to hire someone. Where do I go? Like, do I just pop an ad up on Craigslist or what?
So
Go ahead.
in our city, we've got Craigslist. We've got there's a whole bunch of used sites across Canada, which are kind of a local version of Craigslist as well, that are a little more popular. But we also have I'm going to call them the wrong term, but a tech incubator startup coordination, but not group, that is kind of the de facto messaging board, posting board. The Craigslist and the used sites are free. This board, unless you're a member of their organization, which I'll say a couple $100 a year if you're a small company or something like that, you pay $300 to do a job posting. However, it gets right in front of the eyes that you want to see it. The challenge I've seen with Craigslist is with the postings on those, you get a lot of, or I've seen a lot of, I will come to your country, work for free, and sleep in the office to work for you. And you get a lot of white noise around the postings that come in. And it's easy enough to filter, but it's not something that I need to filter. Whereas posting locally, you eliminate a lot of that and it seems to give a much better, more focused result for what you need. So to that end, I guess it's, if there's any specific organizations that are not competitive and more just collaborative or community based, I think that's probably the place to be looking, if that's applicable in your city.
My tip with the Craigslist posting is, when you have a in your entire whatever you're posting for that job, hide in there somewhere in the subject line, put ABC 123 to be considered for this job, and then you set up an Outlook rule that deletes all the messages that don't have that, so you can see how thoroughly people are going through looking for job postings.
I think that's a good idea, but I use Craigslist, and I've started using Indeed as recently as yesterday, since I have a position to fill. But I tend to read through their resume and see what they do to try to judge them on that, as opposed to how it's presented to me. Because some people may have zero clue on how to apply to a job, but they may be perfect for what you're looking for them to do. So I tend to give them a little more breadth on the search side.
I'll take Errol's one further and just say that when I have posted, I've put comments in there similar, but it hasn't been the ABC. It's been, please ensure when you apply, you submit your resume in PDF format.
Yeah.
And it's a very simple, like, even when it was a help desk coordinator with minimal IT experience required, I'm going, if you can't generate a PDF and you're generally stereotyping for that, you're going to be between the 20 to 35 year range, you should be able to generate a PDF. So did you read it? Did you go to the effort of downloading a free PDF generator or save it or print to PDF on a Mac, whatever? I don't care. But it's that same sort of thing. It's that step to make sure that they've read it.
About following directions. Now you said something about a barbecue to me in private, Ian.
Oh, yeah. So I actually named it something else before I read an article on it. I'm actually going to put the article in Slack to you, Steve. It's just coming in as a DM in Slack. So when I was hiring employees and we got up to 8, the first 2 employees I had, and I have to be careful how I say this because this is going to end up on YouTube and things. The first 2 employees I had didn't quite fit the mold that I was looking for. I was hiring to fill a specific goal of relieving my role from having to run around and be everything to everybody at every moment in time. I was hiring a level 1, level 1.5, maybe some level 2 in there. And it was a matter of, I needed somebody now. I need somebody now. Hey, I got 5 people through. This person looks good. Just hire them. And what I ended up doing, the first person lasted 3 weeks, 2-3 weeks. They were actually a contractor kind of representing as an employee. It was a weird setup. The second one was an employee, lasted 3 months. And what I learned from that and what I applied with future hiring is, would I be willing to take them for a beer and a burger at lunch and sit down and chat, not just about work, but about how's your life, what's going on, how are things? Would I be willing to do that with the person? And when I put that lens on the hiring perspective, what it did was it made sure that the person that we were interviewing wasn't just filling a purely technical role. They were also filling that role that they would be able to interface not just with me and the team, but with the people that they were dealing with, the clients that they were dealing with. You were getting somebody that had a personality, that had that skill set, which I know in some cases in the IT world sometimes is a bit hard to balance, but what it really did was it created a baseline of you're not just a warm body filling a role. The barbecue came up where I read an article earlier this year. The CEO of 800 Got Junk fired his staff, and he basically, to paraphrase the article, was rehired everybody and went, would I be willing to take them to a family barbecue? So if he invited his entire office to a family barbecue, would they embarrass him? Would they be social? Would they be able to hold their own? And that's really one of the fits that I look for in somebody is, can they hold their own? Can they deal with people? Do they get absolutely awkward when they're dealing with execs, or they can't deal with people in suits in big offices? How do they react to that? And that served me so well hiring that department and building up the department of 8 when we started really heading down that mission.
Put here, cultural fit can't be coached. Technical skills can. Hire for fit first. And, one of the things that still sticks out is the, I think it was service delivery when I had Paul. And I think, Todd, were you here with Paul too that day? Where we were talking about service delivery. And Paul said, we are a customer service company. We're not an IT company. We're a customer service company that happens to do IT. So he wants to hire people with good people skills. And if that means that they don't understand how to, set something up on Office 365, like Azure AD, then, put them as an L1 and train them. But he would rather have people that are just great with people. And I think that's so important for any business owner, regardless of what type of company you're running. You need to have people that, one, are going to be able to be friendly, 2, are going to be able to speak in a way that your customer understands and appreciates, and 3, isn't going to get you in hot water. That's the worst, is when your employee screws something up.
I only have one employee, speaking of screw up, and things will happen. Nothing bad has happened, but like maybe a miscommunication. And actually, I always take the blame for it purposely, even if it was something wrong he did. I will always say I miscommunicated. I told him to do this wrong, because I don't want that client. If I say, oh, why, right in front of him, throw him under the bus, say, yes, it was his fault, then that client's going to have a bad taste in their mouth about that person, about him going there. So do you know what I'm saying? I'll take the blame, because they still have to deal with me no matter if he's still working there or not.
Now,
so I don't want to, they're like, oh, he's sending him. Last time he knowingly screwed up, where, they'll say, okay, Errol screwed up, but that's okay. We'll have my guy go there.
Is a way, Errol, to paraphrase that, if there is an issue with the employee, deal with the employee in private as opposed to
praise in public
as well.
Oh, yeah.
And then I don't remember the second half of that, but it's supposed to rhyme or something. But you always praise in public and redirect, retrain, whatever, privately. That way you're not embarrassing them.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
When it comes to hiring people, I mean, you could hire 20 guys, but if they don't know the way you want things done, you're just going to create more chaos for yourself and your customers. So do you guys do some type of training? I think I want to have Shiva start on this. Do you guys do some type of training where you educate your employees? Here's how I want tickets to be done. Here's how I want you to handle your time on a daily basis. Here's how I expect you to address the owners, everything.
So the first thing we do is coach our clients on how to coach our new prospect hires with how to interact with our clients. Because as I think it was Todd said, this is a customer service business. you can be the best at tech, IT, or what have you, but if you don't have the customer service side nailed, just close up shop and go do something else. So we spent about a week or two really trying to teach them how to deal with the client. And then after that, we lay out our business processes of how we actually service these clients. Now, in the sense of my break fix, if you wanted us to do your break fix work, you committed to having one of my guys on site 32 to 40 hours a week that we billed you for, and they were your quarterback. So it's pseudo-managed, but not really. As of June of this year, we decided, okay, let's get into the managed services game, get an RMM, this, that, set it up. And up until last week, we were operating without documentation or formalized documentation. We had a Dropbox folder that everyone had, and there was a document or a spreadsheet outlining what they should do or could do. And we took the plunge and went for a documentation platform. And we're currently building that out. The most important thing to building that out is putting in our procedures and policies of how we do business. Once we can square that away, then we will start to document our client issues and what have you.
I have a question regarding that.
Sure.
Do your techs support every client, or are they client specific only?
On the previous break fix side, they are client specific. So they
I would wonder how you got through with no documentation on that.
They're on premise for the client. Okay. And what we did to make life easier for us and accountability, they had an email address at the client that automatically forwarded to their email address at my company. But the only way for that to work was for them to be there and have some form of continuity with the client.
And that's different now, or the same under managed services?
So managed is very different. I had 9 technicians before. 3 left, and I seeded a new company, which is only a break fix company, and they're following the same premise of a person on site. And it works out well for us because our margin is probably 65%. We charge $300 an hour. The tech's fully laden cost is about $95 to $100 an hour. Company walks away with $200 net. I'm talking, that's our EBITDA. Nothing else comes out of that other than taxes. On the managed side, I took 6 of the techs over and the admin, and we're running, I guess, how most other MSPs should run or do run. And they're in a single location. Tickets come in. All of my technicians are level 2 and level 3. I never bothered to go level 1 because that just creates noise I didn't want to deal with. And the big thing for me is to create efficiency and continuity for my clients. So if they can have a resolution on first touch or have the same person follow up and know the context of the issue, then that's a win for me. And I know people will say, well, if you document correctly, that's a non-issue. But there's a certain learning curve with any issue a client brings up. And if you can get resolution quickly with the same person, they tend to be happier in my experience. But listen, I don't have this all figured out, right? I've only been doing managed for 4 or 5 months.
Okay.
Excellent.
Correct, Todd.
Todd said manage SLAs and first touch resolution. And I'd say that's very important, and that's a good reason to not have an L1 type of employee. Sure.
So if I may, we currently have, if I break out my managed versus my break fix, probably about 1,200, maybe 1,300 users. Total, we have close to 5,000 between break fix and managed. On the managed side, we average maybe 2 to 3 tickets per user a month. Average resolution time, not response time, is 4 to 6 minutes. So
are you able
I
to
consider
resolve a
that
ticket in 4 to 6 minutes?
a pretty good
You just have really
metric.
stupid end users?
Now, I pay very well. No, I pay very well. I treat my people very well, and I expect the best. I'm not looking for good when I hire. I can hire good, but we'll make you better. And if you're not ready to deal with tickets, you don't get put on the floor. We keep training you until we think you're ready to get there. However, most of my people have been with me for 12, 15 years. So we understand each other very, very well. And the problem I'm going to have shortly is that 2 of my guys are leaving at the end of this year, and I have to replace one of them. So it's going to be interesting breaking in someone new after my last hire was maybe 5 or 6 years ago. When I made the switch from break fix to managed, I made the commitment that because I changed my business model, I will not fire people because we're underutilized. I'm at a point right now where we will have 4 techs managing about 1,200 people. I think I should have at least one more as a catch-all. And then we're going to go to a shift system. Currently, we offer support from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And I want to run 3 shifts starting at 6 a.m. ending at 8 p.m., gapping me 2 hours on either end to clean up the day's work or clean up stuff from the day before. I don't want my guys over leveraged because then productivity drops, happiness drops, and profit drops.
Working late, starting early, whatever.
No, we'll stagger. So we'll probably do 6 to 2, then 12 to 6, and or 11 to 6, and then maybe, I don't know, 12 to 8 or something like that.
Or 4 times.
We'll gap in the middle.
That.
We'll have.
Have you considered 3 12-hour shifts per person or 4 10-hour shifts?
I would never do that.
I know some
I've
people
done
like
that.
it is why I ask.
They like it because they get the time and a half.
Oh, see,
but
and
I'd rather have happy
more
people.
or less meant
I want people.
If someone's only working 3 days of 12 hours a day, they're only working 36 hours.
I see, but the way we're set up is if you work more than 8 hours a day, regardless of your load for the week, we give you time.
Because I know I'd be happy having 4
hours.
days off every week. That's my mentality.
Right, but then I think you lose focus on your job if you're off for 4 days. Yeah, but I need to be happy too. We all need to be happy. I just made the decision early on that I want my guys to have solid 40 hours a week. If they have to work overtime, we either do a profit share of the job if it's a project, or they get time and a half or double time, depending on what it is.
So I would say that you've got a lot of processes in place. You seem very fair as a business owner. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure at the end of the day, you want to be like so rich that you can swim through your gold coins like Duck McScrooge. However, you want your employees to also be Duck McScrooge.
Well, the biggest problem in being a small business owner, I think, with your employees is envy, right? You're always going to have that employee that says, we do all the work and he reaps all the benefits. So if you spread the wealth around, then yeah, you can mitigate some of that. But I also came from the financial industry. And the easiest way to fix a problem in the finance world was to throw as many bodies as possible at it. So I understand the benefit of having resources employed or deployed, so to speak.
Oh, sorry, please. Yeah.
So I was going to say an interesting scenario on my end is I'm doing pretty much everything MSP except for, because I'm using a Terra and plan on switching to Lab Tech, my PSA is lacking. However, the new clients are still coming in, and any break fix are still converting. So I'm wondering, switching to something like Kaseya or Lab Tech, should I be planning on? I mean, the way I'm running now, I could hire someone, or maybe is the PSA software going to be my new hire? You know what I'm kind of saying?
I'll tell you what I did. I made the switch in June, or I made the decision in June. I went with Enable, and MSP manager. By August, I said MSP manager is lacking, so I converted to ConnectWise Manage. Then I realized that to truly get the benefit of ConnectWise Manage, I needed lab tech to have the workflows, automation, triggers, and everything else that goes along with having those two managed. I went out, and it's an open secret. I use Comprehensive MSP, Brian Kelly over there, and he takes care of all of my scripting needs, all of my automation. It's basically managed ConnectWise stack. And the reason I went that way is because at the time I had 250-ish users under management with Enable. I didn't want to lose time dealing with the learning curve. I wanted someone to put something in place where I can hit the ground running, and as a work in progress, we can go and tweak and create and do what we needed to do. We started off with 2 boards, now we have 9. But that's because of the processes I wanted in place, or I think should be in place, and Brian over at Comprehensive advised as his years in the business. My advice to you, suggestion, however you want to take it, is invest in yourself now when you have fewer clients. That way you're setting yourself up for scalability. Everyone talks about growth, but how scalable are you? Can you have 200 users dropped in your lap and you can deploy and have them under management within a couple days? Can you?
100?
100, 200. I mean,
I don't know. I don't know about 200, but I could say he's 100.
So if you're not doing hardware as a service, the answer to that, if you have a decent RMM PSA combination, is the size doesn't matter. As long as they have an Active Directory and you can put one agent somewhere in there,
right?
They should be deployed within a day or two, and the time frame is really dependent on having computers switched on.
Yeah.
I mean, automation is the name of the game for us. Automate or die, or automate or go bankrupt. So I strongly implore you to go and find a actual PSA that you like and an RMM tool. Terra's
been good for the remote monitoring and alerting. It's been okay for that. And once the PSA was I was like,
I don't think Terra is anything. I think it's a waste of time, effort, and money, quite honestly.
Well, I left Pulseway because of the whole Kaspersky thing. I was kind of predicting that already a year ago. And then I went to Terra because it was quick, and now I'm ready for, the final one, which
I left Enable. It's a fantastic product. It could not take me to where I want to be the way I wanted to get there. Top 2, Kaseya LabTech. Stay within their stack. So if you're going Kaseya, go full Kaseya. If you're going LabTech, go full LabTech. I would put Enable shortly thereafter, and I probably wouldn't waste my time with anything else.
Well, we're already ConnectWise, so that leans me one way more than the other.
Sorry?
We're already Screen Connect, so, that kind of leans me.
That's bias, right? I think trial the product, see what it is, talk to people who use it. Just because you use their remote platform shouldn't pre-qualify them as having an edge.
For Terra, it does, because the splash top is garbage. So we left that instantly.
Errol, between you and Shiva, I'm not making many friends over at a Terra and Splash Top.
Why would you want to?
Oh, come on. Be nice.
Hey, I use the product. It's good, but the scalability is just not there.
Okay, so here's my question to you. Do you want to be good?
Right.
Do you want to be great?
Scalability is not there.
No. It's not scalable. Do you want to be good? Do you want to be Edward Technologies, the good IT provider? Or do you want to be Edward Technologies, the great IT provider?
Correct. You want to be the great one.
So then you can't use good tools.
I want to kind of flip this around. Todd said you'll need someone to own the PSA. And that was in response to Errol saying, do I want this to be my new employee, this RMM, or do I want to hire someone? And Todd's right. You will want someone that's consistently managing and doing continuous improvements and updates and refining and everything else on your PSA, your RMM. There's even little things that can be done on Screen Connect to make it operate better. you can outsource the management of these tools, and I think that would make things a lot easier for you and your internal resources. Now you just say, for example, with LabTech and ConnectWise, Shiva just put a link in the chat to comprehensivemsp.com.
And full disclosure, I get nothing for referring him. I think he has done very well by me.
There's nothing wrong with that, man.
So the least I can do is give him a
If you're so happy with a service, you want to scream from the rooftops. I mean, that says a lot about a service provider right there. And the fact that there's a service provider out there that you can just kind of throw money at the situation and almost make it go away.
Here's the best part about him. He runs his business on the full ConnectWise stack. There are consultants out there that do this type of work, and they don't have their own lab or whatever you want to call it. You got to drink your Kool-Aid if you're going to sell it.
So let's kind of switch it around to kind of move away from employees. Let's move away from PSAs and RMMs because we want to work on the business, not for the business. Let's talk about everyone's favorite thing, invoicing. Do you guys have a policy or something in place where you've got anytime someone signs a managed services agreement, they fill out an ACH or credit card form, and you send them their invoice, but it's marked paid because you've already charged them?
Yeah, nothing but that. Unless you're selling separate hardware or something. Yeah.
Ian, how about
automatic or forget it.
Got it.
ACH isn't as clean cut in Canada. Different model. We actually, for most of our business clients, we bill them on day one of the month that the services are for, due on day 15. So my risk to exposure is
your risk to exposure is the full month, because it's not like all of the stack that you're using is going to prorate all of the things that you're paying for to make this service happen for them. Oh, well,
although being on Continuum, yes, it will prorate. But no, the risk of exposure is that. However, a lot of that billable amount is also including the expected labor that's going to happen. It hasn't been an issue to date. I also have avoided a couple of companies that have been possible. I'm just seeing Todd's note. Yeah, PAD can be set up in Canada. It's just certain banks and certain more administrative nightmare. We do have on-file CCs for a few of our customers where they want to pay by credit card. We pre-charge that. So yes, they do get the paid invoice. But a few of our customers... a lot of businesses in Canada don't like to pay by credit card simply because they want the multiple signatures on the check for compliance or whatever. That's just something that we've seen quite often. And knocking on wood, it hasn't been an issue.
Payment thing on file?
We do ACH for the most part. We bill you and charge you on the 24th or the 26th of every month for the following month. Never bill in arrears. Projects are billed up front. And this is because last year I had to walk away from about $60,000 to $65,000 in invoices from a client because they wouldn't pay. Nonprofit, as most of my break-fix clients are. I could have spent, $40,000, $50,000 on legal fees to get paid $60 and netted $20, but it wasn't worth the time and the hassle. So I decided with MSP, you bill them up front. If they come on board in the middle of the month, we prorate that month for them. They pay it up front, and we bill their bank account on the 24th or the 26th for the first.
Payment on file. And I don't think anyone likes the fees.
I don't like the fees. My clients are, in my opinion, larger. So 3% of those numbers could be someone's bonus at the end of the year. So I'd rather get the benefit of an ACH or a check. Checks are just a hassle. Who wants to go to the bank anymore? There are 1,000 ways to get paid now. So use something that's relatively cost effective and immediate.
I'll give you one from Canada, Shiva. Our checks that come in, we just take pictures with our phones and they go straight into the bank account.
So in
some
New
banks
York,
have
Jersey,
limitations. My bank has a limitation of
is
$5,000 per day. So
I looked into it about 2 years ago, and it was maybe $1,000, and I just said, it's not worth my time, because if I'm billing all my clients on the same day, I'm going to be pulling my hair out and yelling, screaming, and cursing probably.
Yeah.
Money. It's what motivated me when I was at Goldman. I mean, my bonus is going to be better because I do X, Y, Z. I mean, realistically, if we're putting you in a position to have a good quality of life outside of the business, and you enjoy what you do, then what else is left?
yeah, but,
A financial benefit?
People have bad days or bad weeks, or unless someone's grandma dies or wife leaves them, or whatever.
Oh, well, speaking of bereavement, there's no limit. There's a death in your family, a close friend, a friend of a friend, and you think you need to be there for someone, you get paid time off. Just tell us what it is, and I don't care if you're out for 3 weeks, we'll pay you. But that's just how I operate my business. Fortunately, my guys don't take advantage of that.
Shiva, I'm sorry.
He's got the Caribbean blues.
Listen, you got to treat people right, okay? It's not just about treating them right when they need you to do it. You have to treat them right every day. And if you don't do that, you have far bigger problems.
There's three guys here that seem to disagree with you. Todd says money is a measure of value, not a motivator in itself, which I think I can attest to that. Stafford says money only goes so far, in my opinion. Valuing the individual goes further. And then David says there are plenty of studies which finds that money isn't a significant motivator.
I'll tell you what, I'm not saying they're wrong, but I'm saying in my business that everyone that works for me and I share a common goal. We know what we want to do. We know how we want to do it. We know why we want to do it. And money is the icing on the cake. Everyone can sit there and tell me that, it doesn't motivate, it's this, it's that.
True.
But, happiness ain't paying your bills. I'm sorry. It doesn't. And we give typically a 2 to 4 week bonus end of year to each employee. So if you create a good environment to work in, they're happy with what they're doing, they have the right tools to do their job, and they are compensated very well. I think all those things coming together is what motivates your staff to do better. If someone's in a rut, talk to them, find out what the problem is. If you can help, do it. If you can't help, try to get them the help they need. Give them a couple of days off. Say, take the next 3 days off. Don't worry, your job is here when you come back. I have guys that took a month off because their wife gave birth to a kid with no complications, but they wanted to spend the first week with their kid.
Now,
Take the
now
time
what
off.
about
We'll make it work.
It boils down to talking to the employee, knowing what's going on with them to an extent. I don't want to play psychiatrist. I don't want to be the counselor. But knowing what's going on and working with them to modify things if need be, to adapt. Money's a balance. Compensation or offset is a balance as well. Whether it's throwing a stipend on their paycheck to cover cell phone usage, or if they're a work from home employee going, okay, you've upped your internet package because of this, we'll throw you a nice offset and we'll cover that cost. Or it doesn't have to be bonus related, but knowing what's going on, working around their needs as well within reason. And as long as you're fair about it and you communicate with them, I haven't had employees really abuse that. It's just a matter of making sure that they know that you're willing to be fair and respectful, and just it's a two-way street of communication.
I agree. You should always have an open door policy with your people.
by Ian, Errol, and Shiva? And we're talking about back office management today. How do you work on your business instead of for your business? Now, Ian, I just got to ask. I'm going to ask the question I know everyone's thinking. Is that a hard hat hanging up on the shelf behind you?
I cleaned and I found it, and I hung it because that's the only kind of hook type post thing that I could put it there.
No,
I actually saw that over
hat.
my head, and I was like,
So
I was
going to ask,
do you
wear that when you go on site for computer installation so you don't hurt your head under that desk? Wow.
Depends on the customer. I've actually got a couple pairs of steel toe boots somewhere in here as well. That actually is left over from one project where we were working on, and it was a new office build, and we were going in when it was still very much just concrete had been poured and 2x4s up the railing type thing. So we had to have hard hats and steel toes. So I don't know, $5.99, $12.99, whatever. There's my hard hat, and apparently I wore the wrong color for what I was showing up to do.
Are we talking $12.99 for your hard hat?
Yeah, I've still got a hard hat.
I guess I would buy one that costs a little more, because my noggin is important to me. I mean,
It's your head.
Oh, you don't know.
Price doesn't necessarily mean safety when it comes to helmets. I do. I own a bicycle distribution company that imported and sold Italian-made helmets. And
So he does know.
All right, now Shiva, hold
What's
on a
up?
second.
So you
You
do
have
know.
an MSP. You have a break
Telling
fix
you, I
company.
do.
You used to work. Where did you say? Goldman and Sachs. And you owned a
Goldman
bicycle
Sachs
distribution
and KKR
company.
private equity.
Import export. Now we're starting to get somewhere.
Import export
That's what
distribution. Yes.
that's what all
We
the drug
supply-
lords call it too.
We supplied high-end German handmade bicycle
That's pretty
wheels
cool.
called Lightweight to all the bicycle shops in the U.S. and
Okay,
Canada.
so let's see.
Yeah.
Errol, what kind of struggles are you running into right now when it comes to running your business?
My latest struggle, because I switched to hardware as a service, was to find financing, but it wasn't a struggle. I just didn't know what to do. So literally the bank called me randomly and said, hey, we'll give you this loan for this amount. And I'm like, hey, I guess that kind of solves my problem there. Otherwise, I was turning to friends and families and credit cards for financing to support this.
We use CIT.
So that was,
I know the MSP world loves using Great America, but
That's really cool.
CIT has done well by us over the last decade or so.
Okay.
I think Todd wanted to know who holds your paper.
That was really the only struggle. The two projects coming up is voice over IP servicing and lab tech. So I'm sure there'll be struggles with each of them to some sort.
Hey, I told you, take managed ConnectWise stack from me. We'll take care of you.
I will take that advice
Ian,
on
how
Brian.
about you? Are you having any struggles right now with managing a company?
You know what? On that note, I'm going to hop on the train to Chicago.
Hey, thanks
So
for stopping in, man. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Let's bounce it over to Ian. Do you have any struggles right now with managing an IT company?
I'm gonna pin it on back office systems, and the one I'm gonna pick on because it's irritating the heck out of me is our quoting, invoicing, flow, service, sales order, XML, distribution integration, cloud. How's that for a
now?
widget?
Basically, figured it all out. He just doesn't want to sound overly confident and say he's figured it all out and doesn't know.
I
haven't. I know what needs to happen. So about a year and a half ago, I was doing quoting for customers with a spreadsheet. And it was a nice spreadsheet. It had quantity description, part numbers, sell price, extended, all that. And then it had a hidden area off to the side that I could see margins and all that. So I could build up a quote, do all of that. But what I was finding was I was spending a lot of time hopping between distributors, who has stock, who has that. So surprise, surprise, in our world, there's somebody that'll sell you a product that'll do anything. QuoteWorks has, or ConnectWise has Quozal. I went with QuoteWorks. I was frustrated with ConnectWise as a company at that point anyway. It's very Microsoft Access feeling, clunky, but it works. But where I run into issues are different products not being in stock, different distributors changing their XML backend, QuoteWorks providing an update that fixes something, but then it ends up breaking other things. And my gripe that this all boils down to is I'm doing a build for a customer, and it's got a lot of products that require end user information go to distribution for the sale. So Microsoft, Meraki, VMware, things like that. And the challenge is, because QuoteWorks isn't sending the XML data, I'm running into brick walls, and it's failing me, and it's failing that flow, because I don't want to have to spend an hour ordering 10 items or 10 SKUs from Microsoft, or 10 Microsoft SKUs from distribution. So yeah, we can, Todd.
So Todd said
we can do XML through distribution.
To distribution yet?
Sorry. To Ingram, to data, and to Synnex. The difficulty is with all of these, and I'm starting to learn about how the distributors' backends are configured, and I learned this most with Ingram. Their backend systems are more horrible than the worst built MSP on the planet. When I've spoken to the rep, to get the price, sorry? Yeah. When I spoke to my rep, who's very straight up with me, to get you a price on this, I have to go to 4 different systems and get this and get that. If I put notes on an order to do a price modification, it puts all of the notes in one string of text at the bottom, separated by double slashes instead of carriage returns. It's just absolutely horrific for what I've understood they have to go through to process these orders. it's apparently a hugely manual process for just about everything going through there. So from my end, when it runs, it's a very clean process. Customer requests quote, I send quote, they write back, they approve it, depending whether it's prepaid or terms, whichever is the case. The item gets ordered through XML, ships, drop ship, blind ship to the customer, all's great. Generates a sales order in ConnectWise, or it gets attached to the ticket in ConnectWise, either way. When that item's closed, it generates an invoice paid. All nice and happy. But if anything hiccups down that process, it just starts to get a little bit kludgy, and
please bring me the water.
It's just a frustration. I don't know if you're sensing a frustration with this.
Oh, look, my mic was on that time. All right, so I want to recap so far. I know that Shiva, you said pay your people well, take care of your people, treat them well.
Yes, treat them well is very important, and spread the wealth.
Yeah. You need to have your own McScrooge. So okay, and then Ian has said he has issues with ordering things with QuoteWorks because he's in Canada. That's my assumption. It's because he's Canadian.
No, he has
frozen there for it's slower up here.
And I'm sure Shiva's going to say it would work if you were using Global.
I mean, do I have to say it now? But
and we learned that Canadians can use Ingram, Tech Data, and Synex for e-orders with XML.
And if I had accounts with D&H, apparently I can do that as well, but I've never bothered to set up with them.
It's not always a bad thing to have just more of an open-ended vacation, time off, whatever policy, as long as you treat your people well and they can respect you.
I think, yes, that is true. Not really open-ended, but you have to understand that there are times in people's lives where they need you to give more than you usually would, and whatever that giving is. And you have to give them the ability to recover from whatever it is they're dealing with.
It's very easy to put people on ACH or credit card billing. Up in Canada, they have pre-authorized debit, but it sounds like there are some additional hoops to jump through in order to do that. David is asking how people are billing.
I wanted to take a shot at this one. We're in the MSP community, right? So everyone gets on their soapbox and says that MSP is the only way to be, blah, 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 blah. But you got to find what works for you, man. If you're a break fix guy and you can make it profitable, do it. If you want to do MSP, do it. If you want to do both, go for it. As far as the MSP side goes, bill per user. I offer a combination of stacks. There's my top end, which I wish everyone would take, but I created a short stack, so to speak, because I wanted to go back to the prospects I lost because they weren't ready to pay X dollars for, me to take over completely. So I gave them a stack at a good price that gave me huge margin and helps me to train them to be ready to go pay that full price later on.
Short stack, and now I want pancakes. Moving on, though, how do you guys determine your margin? Because it can't simply be I have my RMM, my antivirus, this, that, yada, 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 yada. I have all these tools, and all my tools combined per user costs me $32.75 a month.
Well, what I do is I calculate my margin based on tools deployed to the user. So I will do a weighted average per user of the firewall, this, that, and what, based on the number of users and the total outlay. So that's how I get to it. I don't include labor because you never know what you're going to spend labor-wise on something. Something goes terribly wrong, you may throw all of your resources there. All of a sudden you go from X percent to X minus 200%. So I try to build at 70 to 75% based on tool cost, and that does not include something like ConnectWise Manage, where I look at that as an operating expense.
Some people look at just the cost of goods sold to come up with their margins. Other people think you should look at all of your operating expenses as well to figure out your margin. But I don't understand, like, how can I divide up my rent and my water bill into my managed services?
You can do that. Well, no, hold on. That's fair. I think for your day-to-day business, you go cost of goods. But I think, once a year when you do your taxes, you're going to know how profitable or not you were the year before. And that was your profit for that year. I don't think you can chop up your water rate, your 2.1356 tax that did X number for whatever. It's going to take you a couple of years of operating to figure out where you really sit. I try to go 70 to 80% tool cost. That's what I do. And we are at $160 a month. And I guarantee you, and I know this because I call my competitors all the time to see what they're offering, my stack offers much more than they do, and we're not even talking about the service side factor.
So that helps them figure out pricing and stack and that kind of stuff. And I think they might charge like, I don't know, $400 a server and $100 a workstation, and it's all inclusive. There's not an hourly rate. Projects are all included. Everything is included. And that's what?
That's not for me. I will give you clearly defined parameters of what is covered. I will give you what I believe to be a fair price and tons of value, because MSPs are all about, we're going to give you the value, but projects are projects. I mean, if there's major remediation going on, an MSP isn't set up to do that as part of daily business. That's why we call it projects, in my opinion, at least. I mean, Todd, I know you ran a rather large MSP, and I'm curious what your thought on that is. There you go.
And I forgot.
See? You got the
Kevin is a
Canadians in
Canadian
agreement
citizen. He was there for a whole month.
Yes, I am Canadian, Yes, I am. 3.
All right,
actually.
So I know another guy, and he's been on here. He's mentioned his pricing several times. He does. His average is $227 per user. I think it's because it's an average.
Why not 230?
So some of them might be 215, others might be 265,
okay,
and somehow it might even be like 227 and 64 cents or whatever. Like, anyway, so he says he also includes projects, and everything is included. There's no hourly rate. However, he sets the expectation that they'll only do I think he said 5 hours a month in things that are above and beyond the typical MSA for managed services. So if someone wants to do a server implementation, I don't know, it's going to take 6 months to install a new server. The warranty is going to be halfway expired when that server gets fully implemented with everything. But they didn't have to pay for the project.
I have a perfect example right now. I am speaking with a prospect. Another MSP is bidding them, and this other MSP is doing free work for them right now in hopes of getting the job. We went in a couple days ago. They were deploying Sophos. they didn't know what the hell they were doing. If we go in or someone else goes in, they got to do it all over again. And these guys are going to offer free everything. They're part of a nationwide consortium of MSPs. But if you don't know what you're doing, or your people don't know what they're doing, and you're giving it all for 100 a workstation, 500 a server, you're never going to make money. It's just not going to happen.
So it's unfortunate because I don't like to hear about any IT company failing. I want to hear about my success the most, but I feel like there's enough pie to go around, guys.
I agree, but I also believe that these guys failing hurts us because now that is one more bad thing about an MSP.
Buy a car. No.
You need to buy a car in certain instances. You don't need an MSP. We're not a commodity. We like to think we are, and some people price themselves as a commodity, but we're not needed.
We're competing against the break fix. We're also competing against the in-house IT. We're competing against the manager and the owner that think they can do it themselves.
Or we have a guy for that.
I would argue almost that we are a commodity in that we're a generic thing to all of our customers. And I would say all of our customers for the IT companies that don't go out and show a true value. This is why you should work with me over everyone else instead of he had the best price or whatever else. If customers have commoditized us.
So I think we've commoditized us. I think when you go and you start bidding on price, you're dead in the water. If you go to sell someone on needing an MSP, you're dead in the water. And I don't care if the guy down the block from me or whoever is on this webinar watching, don't sell MSP services. Sell business continuity. Sell a vision of where you can take their business or some version of that, because that's what they want to hear. That's what they want the end result to be. They don't care how you get there, as long as you can
get this from the working on the business point of view. Let's just say, for example, we want to put together a package of fully managed services. Let's say the price is $150 a user, and let's say we're using the stack that makes insert person here happy. So for Shiva, that's going to be the full ConnectWise stack with Sophos, I believe. For me, that's going to be the Kaseya stack with Bitdefender, and some would say that's my flavor of the week, and that's fine. It's a little funny. Ian, that would be Continuum, and what are you using for AV? Okay, so I mean, obviously we've all got our tech, and as Todd said, the tech is the commodity. So how do we collectively work together and come up with our package? Let's figure out a way to help all of us come up with a package that has a value proposition that proves to our potential customers that we are the ones that they need to work with.
Do you want to take this one, Ian, or do you want me to start?
I think the one I saw is Tom's comment. It's the positioning and it's the conversation with the customer. We've grown by word of mouth. We haven't done the sales pitch. Our value is you don't need to worry about it. That's the value that we go, and the conversation is never a tech conversation. The conversation is you don't have to stress about these things. It's funny, voice to text dictation. our best fit customers, in my opinion, are the ones where they basically have that mindset of, that's really weird. I do what I do well, you do what you do well, and I'll just call you and it's taken care of. Lawyers, in my mind, have been a really good fit for that model. Okay, I can't watch this. Hang on. Lawyers have been a really good fit in that model. They very much go, we're good at arguing things and writing up stuff, but we just want stuff to work. And we want it to work now when we need it. And they're billing crazy rates for that. So they want it up and running. And that's just how it's worked for us, is the value and the perception to the client is, yep, it's just taken care of. It's just done. And in the odd case, something comes up where you're kind of going, yeah, it's a bit out of scope. But if I look at it and go, in the grand scheme of things, it's not going to become a recurring item. It's not going to become a massive issue. You just kind of take care of it and deal with it while you're there. And it's just that whole value thing. If it does lean towards becoming a recurring item or something like that, then it is a conversation. And generally, when you position it as that, going, we're taking care of more, it's not an issue.
Not even a little.
So does that kind of, in a circuitous route, give some thoughts on that?
I'm just teasing you. So Ian, real quick, when
now
you
I'm going to read
company,
what I dictated. No, go ahead. Sorry.
When you sit down with a prospect, let's say you've got your price, you got your proposal already ready. What do you say? So you sit down with attorney Steve Taylor, Esquire, and what do you say to me to say why I need to work with you and only you?
I don't say, I ask. The question gets flipped back to the client on, okay, I've got to hide this again because you're going to keep typing. Sorry. The question always gets flipped back to the client. What are your frustrations? What are your pain points? What bothers you? What have you not been happy with? It really depends on the conversation and the client and what's led to that point. One of the questions, and it's either a starting point or it's further down, is why are we in this room? What's got us here to this point? And it's either I've just fired so-and-so, something's broken, we've just had massive growth, we were referred to you. What's the crux of the point, that what got us here? And I use that as the leadoff point to steer the conversation or turn it into a, we'll take care of it and you don't have to worry about it. But just asking what's got us here lets them feel in control. People like talking about what's going on. We're doing this. We've just had massive growth. We've done this. So that's kind of the conversation. I never start with
this could be the second
price. I never start with a pitch. I generally don't have a proposal at the first meeting. This could be the second or third. So it totally depends on what the client is.
Got it.
What the sort of
how about you, Shiva?
Point was that got us there.
I tend to have a very standardized solution that, in my mind, right or wrong, is going to work for every single client, and get them in line and reduce their issues within 3 months. Ideally a month, but typically 2 to 3 months. And you give them the option. Do you want the full stack? Do you want half the stack? Do you want to go a la carte? A la carte is priced so high, they might as well go full stack. And it's about standardizing everyone so you know what you're troubleshooting. And that'll get you to a point where you have the confidence in your stack so that when you go into them, you can explain where they and their business will be in 4, 8, 12 weeks from when they sign and fund that MSA. It's a vision. That's what you're selling. If you can't sell that, you're not selling anyone successfully, in my opinion.
One of the other ones that's actually worked well, I'm just going to kind of parallel and tangent. One of our clients is I don't know how to describe them. There's the massive investment companies, investment management companies, and you don't actually deal with them. Every person you deal with is an independent licensed franchisee, I guess, almost of the investment company. So they have compliance regulations that they have to follow. And one of our best advocates on that's actually pushing them from the ad hoc break fix super light stack into the managed portfolio is their internal IT auditor going, if you have a break fix model where you're paying per call and you're paying per this and you're paying per that, they've actually found that their clients are reluctant to fork over the cash because it's an expense they weren't expecting. Whereas if it's managed and flat fee or an all you can eat or whatever you want to call it, it's something that they budgeted for and they're expecting, kind of essentially a salary or a position in their company. And with that, this internal auditor who's kind of on the IT audit side has basically been pushing them to that, going, then if you've got problems, you actually fix them. You've got somebody looking out for you. You've got somebody watching stuff for you. So sometimes it's not necessarily you creating the value or you pushing the sale of something. It's let the trusted third party that, in this case, they have to listen to, sell it for you. And then you're the good guy
I do like being the good
help
guy.
them with the problem that they're required to deal with.
The good guy is good. I like it.
Yes, the good guy is good.
All right, so Errol says, get ready for some sticker shock. And, knowing Errol, I actually believe that. and the reason I say that, not to pick on Errol, but I think he and I both try to have a sense of humor, which, we just try to lighten the mood. I like to lighten the mood. When I sit down with a company, I want to feel them out. And obviously if they're, cracking little jokes here and there, then I might try and say something like, get ready for some sticker shock. Shiva says he has no sense of humor when it comes to finances.
Yep.
And I think I have a sense of humor with everything. Sometimes with things I probably just shouldn't. But I also think it's important for you to be yourself. Don't go into a meeting with a prospect, wear a suit and tie, and be Mr. Professional, have answers for everything. And then, day one of implementation, you're wearing shorts and flip-flops and cracking jokes and, whatever. Like, you should go in there being yourself. He was like, oh, no, you didn't.
I think, and I was looking for my finger on the screen. In that sense, I think most prospects can see that coming a mile away. These guys aren't stupid. Clearly, they have some kind of mental acumen that got them to where they are, where they can afford to spend thousands of dollars on us. They can smell the BS a mile away. I pitched a client this morning. Our first meeting was yesterday morning at 6 a.m. at their offices. Our second meeting was 5 a.m. this morning at their home. They live about 4 miles away from me. Massive construction company in the New York, New Jersey area. Probably paved every road I drive on a daily basis. I think they called me out just to see if I would show up for the meetings at
what
their schedule.
What time was the first meeting?
And 6 a.m. yesterday and 5 a.m. this morning. And I think it was really, they wanted to see the level of commitment they could expect. And so I think people have to be very aware. I did go at 5 a.m. I think people have to be very aware that just as we vet our clients and try to test them,
Oh, absolutely.
they will do the same thing to us. And they
Good
signed
for you.
this morning, by the way.
And that was at $350 a user.
Thank
200.
No, it's 160 a user for about 150, and then they have another 100 or so that just have cell phones, so we'll do MDM.
So
then.
I feel like I need to have a webinar just on MDM alone, because let me tell you, I feel like there's not much M for my M's. That's confusing.
I think the MDM solutions that I really like are
Okay.
Intune and Mass 360. You want something pretty but very effective, go with JAMF, Jamf. Sophos has a MDM solution that we are learning. We don't know it very well. So maybe in 2 or 3 months, we'll start rolling that out as it gives us scale with our Sophos licensing pricing.
Ian, Shiva, I want to ask, do you guys have any last words of wisdom you want to share with the fine folks here?
If you're going to sell it, use it. Because if you don't use it and you don't understand it, you will not sell it effectively.
Very good thing. Ian.
Be yourself. Don't sugarcoat. Don't stretch stuff. Just be what you are, which is kind of the drink your own Kool-Aid and know what you're doing. And yeah, the customer can smell it a mile away. So just be straight up with them. And if you don't know something, don't make up an answer, because they may know the answer already.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And here's a little metaphor for you guys. Your prospects aren't dogs. So don't do that game where you guys stare at each other to see who looks away first. You need to treat your prospects, your customers, your employees with the level of respect that you expect them to treat you with. I think that goes a lot. That goes a long way.
That's actually a clause. That's actually a written clause to that effect in our master service agreement for our clients.
Treat us the way you want to be treated.
To an extent, yeah. There's a couple other lines there, but
does that mean if they start screaming at you and calling you names, you do it back to them? That really doesn't happen in Canada.
We can do that.
Yeah.
No,
I'm
we
really sorry about this.
apologize. I'll give you a short 30-second. Had a contract where I was actually there, and contract, not employee role, and the owner figured the best way to solve everything was just by screaming and yelling and demanding. So that was the lesson learned. Where we are, our WorkSafe WCB employee safety organization has bullying and employee harassment as part of their program and regulations now. So we basically put that in the contracts going, you will respect our staff the same level you respect the employees respectfully, and this safe work environment applies to contractors in that environment. And it's a way that if push comes to shove, it's essentially a breach of contract if they don't do that, if we back out, but there's still costs involved. Haven't had to do it, don't want to do it, don't even want to go near it. But as I'm going through a contract when a client's signing, and I kind of do the high levels, I put that in there, and just, it's a 5 words of respectful environment, and they kind of look at it and they go, okay, and they get it. So it's an awareness that our people are people too. They're not just your lackeys, and it's not just they're just the contractor, or they're just the whatever, or they're just this. They're humans and they're employees of something as well.
I actually have an unfortunate story for you guys related to that. I had a client that treated me very disrespectfully to the point where they kept calling me the N-word, and I didn't take to that too well, so I made like a Southern slave in the 1800s and got the hell out of there. I escaped and haven't looked back, and I have not done any work for them since, and I just don't see any reason for any customer to treat you that way. And I just want to say I actually felt like, I don't even know how I felt. I almost felt like I had no power to get the hell out of there, like I should have. So I dealt with it for a while. And
Never.
And I eventually just became jaded, and I got out of there the wrong way by just stopping work and avoiding them instead of just saying we're done. So
the first time you fire a customer, don't apply for a bid, reject their request for proposal. Makes you feel sick in your stomach, but after you've done it, you're gonna feel better off.
But it's like one of those, like, I almost felt like I'm the asshole, and I'm sorry, I'm going to use adult language right now because we're all adults here. I don't care. I almost felt like I'm the asshole. Okay, this is my show. I'll say whatever I want because I haven't said the F word. Okay,
17 rating on there. Oh, put Elizabeth Berkley in a Versace dress. If you know where that's from, you get 10 points.
So yeah, I mean that's a very important thing to keep in mind, guys. If you have a customer that is not treating you well, then you need to actually sit down with it. Don't avoid it because you're going to make it worse. You need to sit down with them and have a conversation. And if that means you guys need to go your separate ways because they are not going to change, then so be it. Even if you need the money, don't be that guy. And that's something I learned the hard way.
So what I have to say on all of that is surround yourself with people who enrich your life emotionally and in every other way possible. Mm-hmm. Clients are just like your friends. You get to choose who they are. Just because they're paying you doesn't mean they have a right to say those things or to be in or to remain in your orbit. That's just my 2 cents.
Clients or staff, to your extent.
Everyone.
Now, on a completely different topic, there has been one. There's only one time I've ever screwed up. Okay, guys, and there's only one time I've ever screwed up, and that was I recently just fired a customer because they hadn't paid me for, I think we're at 5 invoices, and it wasn't much. It was 4 computers, and it was just like the security stack, so there's no labor or anything included. And they kept saying they weren't getting the emails. I would hit the send email button in my tool. I used Connect Booster. So they kept saying they weren't getting it. I kept saying I'm hitting send. And then I sent them a let's agree to disagree. Let's just not work together anymore. This isn't working out. This isn't a good fit. Whatever you need to say. And then I went in Connect Booster and I learned with Connect Booster shortly after that how to check logs. And I learned that Connect Booster was not sending out emails to that particular client. They really weren't getting the invoices.
I would, in a situation like that, you really need to do your homework when a customer tells you something like that for 3 or 4 months, they're not getting the communications for whatever reason, because it doesn't hurt to double and triple check before you cut them loose. And realistically, have a backup payment solution in place where if they're not getting those emails, maybe you can send it from Stripe, Square, authorized.net, or what have you.
They are.
Clients are
and just
valuable.
because they're
They
paying me $40 a month and not $4,000 a month doesn't mean I wasn't sad to see them go. Exactly.
Can't get to 4,000 without 40.
And Stafford said, own up on any omissions or errors on your part that shows integrity. And I agree with that completely. I used to be, back when I started my business, I used to find something, anything to blame so that way I wasn't at fault. And then I quickly learned, you know what? This just makes me look like an idiot. And I wasn't even a year into my business when I started owning up on things that because they weren't mistakes though, okay? I would own up on things that weren't mistakes because obviously I don't make mistakes, remember? But no, you're absolutely right, Stafford. It is so important to own up on that stuff. And it's
own up before it's an issue. Don't. So I had one yesterday.
Do it on phone or in person?
Where it was just.
Do it on the phone or in person. Don't do it in writing. Your lawyer's going to hate
Fair
you.
enough.
I had a simple shipping one yesterday. Something was supposed to arrive today. I found out yesterday that it probably wasn't going to make it there. Before the customer is sitting there today waiting for it, they had an email yesterday going, heads up, here's the information I've got, here's what I think is happening, here's the probability. So then it's not a matter of them sitting today going, you said it was going to be there. They know before to expect. Turns out it actually did make it on the truck and it's been misrouted to our office, but at least it's in the city today and I can still get it to them today. So long story short, tell them before they get into a problem.
And here's something your lawyer will love you for. If you have a conversation with a customer or prospect or whatever, in person or even on the phone, and let's say you're discussing something and you say, okay, these are my next steps, these are your next steps, or whatever. Memorialize the conversation with an email. That way you can say, hey, thanks 100%. For sitting down. This is what we talked about. These are the things that I'm going to do. These are the things that you agreed to do. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll follow up with you in X days, weeks, whatever.
What I do is I have a mini digital recorder. And if it's a face-to-face meeting, I ask them if it's okay to record, to memorialize a conversation, recap, or recount in an email. If they say yes, great. If they say no, you put it away and you try your best to remember everything. Or take notes.
Because I work with a lot of older folks, and even when I do work with attorneys, that actually, they're like, hell no. They don't want any records.
The benefit of our province is we're a single party recording notification. So all of my employees know, and it's not in their contract, but it's in like the fine print terms and conditions that calls are recorded. So that's the single party disclosure. They're aware of that. If you want to call your wife, call on their cell phone. I don't care. Then it's not recorded. But customer calls are recorded, which also means vendor calls are recorded. Not from I want to rub it in your face. But I had it with a vendor where I did a phone order and they sent the wrong part twice. They wanted to stick me with it and, okay, here's the WAV file, here's the recording, deal with it. I don't want to ever rub it in a customer's face, but I've got that there and it's a little bit of a comfort for me that if push comes to shove, it's in a way audit trailable.
Okay, I'm going to share this with you guys because it's funny. And I know this is going to go on YouTube, but it's going to be so worth it, okay? Stay with me. All right, so Shiva or Ian or even anyone in chat, do you guys have experience with BlackBerry, the the server solution for BlackBerries for Enterprise to link up with Exchange. Yeah, BES. Thank you.
Yeah, extensive. Back in the day, probably my experience is at least
so back
10 years
in my
old at
early
this point, give or
20s,
take.
before I was even dating my wife, I was dating another lady. And did my wife know or the other lady?
Did she know?
Sometimes. So
The other lady.
So nothing was ever explained to me about our BES server, and I've been mortified ever since. She sent me some text messages, and I was told by another employee, a coworker on the same level as me, hey, you should really tell your girlfriend not to send you those kind of pictures. Could you actually see the pictures and the messages and all that were being sent back and forth, or was he just messing with me? Because that I would say is something else that you should probably notify your customers of.
It depends. Was it an internal BES server
Internally
or
hosted
a
at
Verizon
on our
AT&T?
rack. We had a bunch of Dell servers and IT.
What kind of
I just
company
didn't have
was
access to manage our own stuff.
it?
Okay, thank God.
recall
I'm
ever
going to
being
just
able
hope
to
that
read
that's
anyone's
the real
messages.
answer, as Errol laughs at me.
But I mean, I saw Todd has experience, or Ian. I don't know. You guys can probably answer that.
So that's another thing is, when working on your company, have a computer use policy. Let them know what you have access to do, so that way they can make educated. Because we never had any of that. We were like, this was back when I was an employee somewhere for an MSP, not even an MSP, and they didn't have non-competes or any type of employment contracts. They didn't have computer use policies. So when they let someone go, he took our largest client, which was my only client, because I was one of those break fix, just show up every week and do X number of hours for the client. So
we don't have non-competes.
But you also don't pay your people $13 and change per hour. So.
Now, you want to go. Good luck. I mean, this may be cocky of me, but good luck finding a job where you'll be as happy as you are here.
Realizing that it sucks. So
everyone's entitled
to do what they want. I'm going to ask you guys to help me out here. We're going to play a game called Too Long Didn't Watch. We're going to help recap everything we discussed. We're going to try and do it in under 10 minutes, so that way we can have a nice little clip talking about all the highlights of our last, hour and 40 minutes.
Do you have the transcript that you typed, and I can just read what I said?
Unfortunately, the transcript is only for that one little portion. So I'll say,
okay.
Make sure that you ask, don't tell, don't dictate when you're trying to sit down with a prospect and get them to buy your stuff. Shiva said that he has a standardized solution. Whether it's right or wrong, it's going to work for every single client. It should resolve all their issues within the first couple of months that they start working with them. Be ready to explain where their business is going to be in the next 1, 2, 3 months, so that way they have a vision when they sign that MSA.
Should be. Because your MSA can say whatever it wants, but it should probably say best effort.
And then we talked about owning up to your own mistakes. We talked about not letting clients treat you poorly, and if you need to, fire the client. We talked about making sure you have the right tools you need today, so that way you can scale your business. Someone earlier mentioned that they're using a Terra, and Shiva said, okay, so how easily can you onboard 200 new users? And he said, I could probably do 100. And And that's like kind of a scary feeling. Like, you should know, like, all right, if I need to deploy my Kaseya to an 850 user company, I know I can do it. It's just going to work. And it's going to take care of ripping out the old RMM, the old AV, everything, because I'm setting up scripts now to help me do that later on. So set yourself up now while you're small, while you are slow, so that way you can scale effortlessly. Shiva, can you recap anything else that you recall?
It seems pretty complete.
How about you?
I mean, don't know what else.
How about you, Ian? Can you recall anything else? From the whole thing.
From the whole
hire
thing,
the right
hire
people,
the right.
treat them well. If you don't treat your people well, then they're going to hate you and they're going to quit. And don't hire someone just because they're the best tech, because they could be the worst with talking to your end users. We are customer service companies. We just happen to do IT. You need to, as Todd said, you need to hire someone that has a cultural fit. Technical skills can be trained. Make sure you have an employee handbook, training, a way to onboard your company. A way to onboard your employees, because you're only going to set them up for failure if you don't show them, here's how we do things in this business. I know Shiva said he doesn't even have L1 people. He only has L2, L3. That way he can do first touch resolution, most of his tickets. No, you always do it. You never fail.
Touch resolution.
And 70% of the time,
we never fail sometimes.
We fail 0% of the time.
100% of the time.
Yes.
Documentation is key. Get a platform, whether it's Glue, Boost,
I don't care if you use
whoever,
OneNote
whatever.
or Microsoft Word. As long as you come up with a solution for documentation.
That's not documentation to scale with. Go with something purpose built, in my opinion.
Sure.
Create something on SharePoint that can do it for you. There you go. Todd just posted a link there for documentation systems.
Thanks, Todd. Todd has some fantastic resources, and he's not even one of the guests today, but I just want to brag about him for a moment, because he has been really helpful. Evolved, EVOLVED, MGMT.com. Go check it out, because he has a ton of resources available. He's got a great blog. And if you need somebody to help you learn how to better run an MSP, he's there to do it for you. I would say that I love IT Glue, the product.
I despise IT Glue sales people. They are. I'm sorry?
I've dumped IT Glue twice.
No, I absolutely. IT Glue sales is why I chose to go with another documentation provider. They're cocky. They think a takeaway close will work, and then they come back with their tail between their legs, and then they insult you. That has been my experience. However, if you can get around their sales people, which I don't know how you can do that.
You can just buy online.
The product is a fantastic product.
As long.
Oh, maybe that was my problem, right? Was asking for human interaction.
Let me rephrase.
But,
you can buy online if you don't want to ask for a discount.
I didn't ask for a discount. I think you have to pay your vendors because you want them to be there tomorrow and have the money to be there tomorrow, or 6 months down the line, or what have you.
But if they offer a discount, they've got to offer a reasonable discount.
Yeah, don't give me 10% off a 3-year contract, which adds up to, what was it? I think $120 over 3 years, if that. I mean, come on.
I remember your numbers were so pitiful. It wasn't even worth entertaining it.
And
It was
don't
a
do that
slap
to
in
your
the
own
face.
prospects either.
It's, you know,
I mean, offering someone 10% off to sign a 3-year agreement, like me, I do month-to-month agreements. I'm not trying to set my company up to be sold anytime soon. But I
do
don't.
3-year.
I don't want to work with someone if they don't want to work with me. Why should I make someone feel stuck for 3 years?
I'll tell you why. Because it prepares them that you're going to build something of value, and it's going to take time. Now, if they have legitimate concerns and qualms about how you do business with them, you need to sit with them specifically and evaluate, is it worth keeping them on board as a client if they're that unhappy? If they're just being mean or rude for the shits and giggles, then yeah, charge them a kill fee, get rid of them. But other than that, you have to be willing to bend, even if you do have a 3-year contract.
Well, thank you, Ian, Shiva, Errol, who is now on a train. Thank you to the three of you for coming on and playing. This has been fun. This has been educational. I know I learned something with every one of these. If any of you guys have any questions further about this, feel free to hop into the MSP Webinars Slack group. You can go to slack.mspwebinars.com. You can get joined up into that, and you can chat in general. You can chat with people privately, whatever you want to do. We have a Zoom room. You can go to zoom.us and you can join the room 330-247-2471. And that is my company's phone number. So I tried to make it easy for people. I've also got a Patreon. So if you like the content, if you want to continue seeing great content like this, please consider subscribing. You can do it for as little as $1 a month. And there is bonus content available on the Patreon. I feel like that's where the real value comes to the subscription, is the extra content I provide. And finally, if you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe so you can get notifications on future webinars. We try and do 1 or 2 of these every single week. And then next week, holy cow, is next really the week before Christmas? Wow. So we have one next week.
Yes, it is.
That's it. We have one on Tuesday, and that is going to be on project management. I don't even know what that is.
We should have one on Boxing Day. Yeah, that's right. Americans don't. It's the day after Christmas.
It's the day after Christmas. I don't know about you guys. But no, so that's actually our last webinar for this year, and I'm already starting to plan webinars for January and on. So if any of you know a vendor that wants to get in, I'm looking for vendors.
My consultant for Labs at ConnectWise would be
I bet he
interested.
would be an amazing person to have on.
I think you should do something with ConnectWise.
I am working with ConnectWise. I'm going back and forth, trying to get some webinars set up. I'm also tentatively have one scheduled for the middle of January for a Kaseya Tech Talk. And I've also got some other pretty cool things up my sleeve. So thanks, everyone, for attending. And I hope you enjoy your weekend. And hopefully I'll see you all on Tuesday for project management. Take care, guys.
Thank you, guys. Have a great weekend. And happy holidays. Or Merry Christmas, whatever. See you.
Have you been looking for a way to stay focused on your goals and grow your MSP? Accountability groups from RocketMSP can help. We offer weekly accountability sessions that meet online with a group of your peers. Your success begins with accountability. Go to www.rocketmsp.io to join your accountability group today.